Before you jump into your first project, it's a good idea to get to know your machine. Let's take a look at its principal parts and how they work with a quick overview. For more detailed operation instructions, please refer to the instruction manual that's included with your machine. First, the thread guide cover. When you thread the upper thread, you'll pass it around the thread guide cover and under this part. The thread guide. The spool pin and spool cap. These hold the thread securely as you sew. The bobbin winder. This lets you wind bobbins independently for later use. The bobbin winding thread guide and pre-tension disc. Pass the thread under this thread guide and around the pre-tension disc when winding the bobbin thread. The thread tension dial. Adjust the upper thread tension with this dial. The LCD screen. This is the heart of your creative stitch capabilities. Use the easy-to-read display to select stitches, customize stitches, and access handy help menus. The operation panel. Use the keys on this panel to select stitches or embroidery patterns, or for information on how to use your new machine. The embroidery unit connector slot. Plug in the embroidery unit connector here. The embroidery card slot lets you insert embroidery cards for even more pattern options. The foot control jack and foot controller. If you prefer to sew by foot, just plug the controller into the jack. The power cord and jack. Power up your machine by inserting the power cord into the jack and plug the other end into the nearest electrical socket. The main power switch. One flip of the switch and you're ready to start sewing. The air vent. The air vent keeps your machine from overheating while you use it. While you sew, make sure the air vent remains unblocked. The feed dog position lever. You can manually raise and lower the feed dogs by moving this lever. The presser foot lever. Use the lever to manually raise and lower the presser foot. The buttonhole lever. Lower this lever when you're sewing buttonholes and bar tacks. The thread guide disc. Pass your thread through this disc when you thread the needle using the needle threader. The needle bar thread guide guides the upper thread to the needle bar. The needle plate covers the bobbin and has convenient markings for seam allowances. The needle plate cover should be removed to clean the bobbin case and race. The bobbin cover encloses the bobbin case, which in turn encloses the bobbin. The feed dogs move the fabric through the sewing area. The presser foot maintains consistent pressure on the fabric as you sew, keeping your stitches smooth. The presser foot is attached to the presser foot holder, which keeps the foot in place.
Hey, here's a tip. Your new machine comes with a bunch of accessories, including specialized presser feet, to help with all your sewing projects. Check out your manual to see exactly what comes with your machine.
The Start-Stop button does just what it says. It starts and stops the machine. A red button means the machine is not ready. Check your settings if the button is red. When the button is green, the machine is ready to sew. To begin sewing, press the button.
Now don't forget, you can't start to sew until the Start-Stop button turns from red to green.
The reverse reinforcement stitch button lets you sew in reverse. If you hold the button down during straight or zigzag stitching, the machine will sew in reverse at a slow speed as long as you hold the button. Another operation button is the needle position button. Just push it to raise or lower the needle. No need to turn the handwheel manually. For scissors and fumble-free thread cutting after sewing, simply push the thread cutter button. Finally, the sewing speed controller lets you sew at your own pace. Move the slider to the left for slower sewing, or to the right for faster sewing. The operation keys are located to the right of the LCD screen. The first operation key on the panel is the back key. You can press it to return to the initial screen on the LCD. The previous page key will take you back to the page previous to the one you're currently on. And the next page key will take you to the next page. To enter embroidery patterns that you've edited or adjusted into your machine's memory, simply press the memory key. To select a utility stitch, press the utility stitch key. And to sew an embroidery, press the embroidery key. To change the settings on your machine, such as the needle stop position, the buzzer, sound, and more, press the settings key. Finally, the Sewing Machine Help key gives you access to simple explanations for threading, winding the bobbin, changing the needle, and other functions. The Settings key gives you access to your machine's settings. Simply press it to view the settings that can be changed. First, the needle position. You can program the needle to stop in either the up or down position. The sewing speed slide control also doubles as a width control when you're using stitches with variable widths, such as zigzag stitches. Now let's move on to the next screen of settings. You can change your machine's embroidery thread color display to show the name of the thread color, the time, the needle count or number of stitches, or number 123 embroidery for thread color numbers. You can also select either inches or millimeters for your stitch displays. Let's move on to the next screen. First is your machine's buzzer. You can turn this sound on or off. You can also set your needle to be positioned to the left or to the center when your machine is turned on. Finally, there's the language setting. Your machine can be programmed to display screens in any of 16 languages. Simply press the arrow key directly beside the language you want to select it. Let's move on to the next settings screen, the brightness adjustment. We'll show you how to change the brightness setting in the care and maintenance section of this tutorial. The final settings screen displays some basic information about your machine, namely its internal number and the version of internal software it's running. And that's it. We've now reviewed all of the functions under the settings key. To access the various help functions of your machine, press the Help key, the question mark icon in the operation panel. 8 icons will appear in the LCD screen. The first icon provides information on how to thread your machine. Simply press the icon to access the tutorial. Press the forward arrow to advance through each of the 12 screens of the tutorial to view the entire threading process. To return to the first screen, press the return arrow on the operation panel. Your machine provides on-screen help for 7 other functions: winding the bobbin, installing the bobbin, replacing the needle, replacing the presser foot, attaching the embroidery foot, attaching the embroidery frame, and attaching the embroidery unit. The LCD screen is where you can go to get dozens of options to customize your sewing. Simply press the on-off switch on the side of the machine to turn the screen on. To the right of the LCD are the operation keys. If you haven't reviewed the section on the operation keys yet, you might want to take a moment to do that now. The LCD is a touch screen. You can touch the screen with either your finger or the touch pen included in your accessory kit. Let's start with the utility stitch block of stitches.
This is important! When the embroidery unit is attached to your machine, a different LCD screen will be displayed.
The block of icons in the middle of the screen shows you the available stitches. Notice that for each stitch, there's a suggested presser foot, taking the guesswork out of which foot to use. This icon, the needle icon, shows whether you've programmed the machine to finish with the needle up or down. The curved arrow is the reverse reinforcement stitch function. When you press the icon to activate it, your machine will automatically sew reverse stitches at the beginning and end of sewing. You should note, though, that this function isn't available for all stitches. When you press the scissor icon, your machine will automatically trim the thread when you finish stitching. Below the scissors icon is the horizontal mirror image icon. You can use it to flip a stitch to sew a horizontal mirror image of it. These numbers show first what stitch you've selected, and second, how many different stitches are available in that block of stitches. In the lower left corner, you'll see the icon with which you can make adjustments to the stitch width and length. You'll also see a display of your current width and length settings. To move forward or back through the available blocks of stitches, press the operation key arrows.
Hey, here's something that might be new. You'll notice that some utility stitches have dashed lines at the top of the display. This means that when you press and hold the reverse button, the machine will stitch in reverse until you release the button. A dot at the top of a stitch means that when you hold down the reverse button, the machine will sew reinforcement stitches in place until you release it.
Your new machine also helps you determine which stitch is right for your specific use. For example, you'll notice some stitches have the letter P next to them. This means they're great for piecing. Stitches with a Q next to them are recommended for quilting. For more details on this feature, check your manual. Different types of sewing require different needles. Let's see how you can switch out needles for your specific project. To begin, press the needle position button on the front of the machine to raise the needle to the highest position. Turn off the sewing machine.
Watch out! Be sure to turn off your machine before changing the needle to prevent injury.
To remove the needle from your machine, hold it with one hand. With the other hand, use the screwdriver included with your machine to turn the needle clamp screw toward the front of the machine. This will loosen the needle. When the needle is loose, you can remove it easily. Now take your new needle. With the flat side of it facing away from you, push it up into the needle area until it touches the needle stopper. Finally, use the screwdriver to tighten the needle screw. Your machine comes with a variety of presser feet, so you can achieve expert results with all types of sewing techniques. We'll cover basic presser feet in this section. For information on how to attach the embroidery foot, see the embroidery section of this CD.
Hey, here's a tip. Accessories vary from machine to machine, so check your manual to find out which presser feet came with your particular machine.
Now let's walk through the steps to change your presser foot. First, press the needle position button to raise the needle. Next, raise the presser foot lever, and press the black button on the back of the presser foot to release it. To attach a different presser foot, line the pin of the foot up with the notch on the presser foot holder. Then lower the presser foot lever. The new presser foot will snap into place. To finish, raise the presser foot lever and turn on the machine. Removing the flatbed attachment allows for free arm sewing, making it easier to sew cylindrical pieces such as pant legs. To remove the flatbed, firmly pull the attachment to the left. Slide the circular project you want to sew onto the free arm, and you're set to go. To set up for winding a bobbin, place a spool of thread on the pin so it unwinds from the bottom toward the front. Choose a spool cap that matches the size of the thread spool, and slide it onto the pin so it fits securely against the spool.
Hey, here's a warning. Be sure to use a spool cap that is close in size to your spool. If the cap is too small, the thread may become caught in the slit on the end of the spool and break.
After you have your spool in place, take a bobbin and find the groove on the inside. Place the bobbin on the bobbin winder shaft, making sure to align the bobbin groove with the spring on the bobbin winder shaft. Then push the bobbin down into position.
This is important. For the best stitch quality, you should use only a Brother bobbin number SE400.
Hold the thread close to the spool pin in your right hand. Take the end of the thread in your left hand and pass it under the hook of the thread guide. Next, pass the thread behind the thread guide cover and to the front, and under the pretension disc. Then wind the thread clockwise around the bobbin 5 or 6 times. Pull the end of the thread into the slot of the built-in thread cutter. Pull the thread firmly to the right to cut it. To begin winding the bobbin, slide the bobbin holder to the right until it snaps into place. Either use the foot control or the Start-Stop button to begin winding the bobbin. When it's full, the bobbin will stop spinning. Once it's stopped, cut the thread and remove the bobbin.
Watch out! When you remove the bobbin, be sure to pull only on the bobbin itself, not the bobbin holder.
Now that your bobbin is wound, let's look at how to insert it into the bobbin case. To begin, make sure the presser foot is lifted. Then slide the bobbin cover latch to the right and remove the cover. Be sure that the thread is coming off the bobbin to the left. Then place the bobbin into the bobbin case. Hold the bobbin down lightly with your right hand while you pull the thread through the groove with your left. Pull the thread towards the front to cut it with the built-in cutter. Finally, replace the bobbin cover. Insert the tab into the lower left corner and carefully press down on the right side until the cover snaps into place. And that's it. There's no need to pull the bobbin thread up through the cover, except when you're using certain special techniques and threads, which are covered in your manual. Threading the machine is as easy as 1, 2, 3, and a few other numbers. Notice that the threading path is conveniently marked with the correct numerical sequence for foolproof threading every time. To thread your machine, first turn it on. Lift the presser foot and the needle to their highest positions. Gently angle the spool pin upwards and slide a spool of thread onto the pin, making sure the thread unwinds from the front. Slide on a spool cap that's the right size for your spool of thread and push it gently but firmly against the spool.
Hey, you've heard this before. Be sure to use a spool cap that is close in size to your spool.
Once your spool is on correctly, take the end of the thread and pass it under the notch on the thread guide plate. Then pass it behind the thread guide cover and to the front. While holding the thread with your right hand, continue threading the machine with your left hand, following the arrows.
Hey, here's a tip. Make sure you use both hands to pull the thread behind the thread guide cover.
When threading the take-up lever, make sure it's in its highest position. Then pass the thread into the lever from right to left. Continue downward, passing the thread all the way through the needle bar thread guide from right to left. To use the convenient needle threader, lower the presser foot. Then pass the thread through the notch of the thread guide and then into the guide marked number 7. Make sure the thread passes securely through the thread guide disc. Next, pull the thread upwards into the thread cutter to cut the thread. To thread the needle, lower the needle threader lever slowly but firmly until it clicks. The needle threader hook will rotate and pass through the eye of the needle. All you need to do now is raise the presser foot and carefully pull a few inches of thread toward the back of the machine, and you're ready to sew. To select a stitch pattern, begin by turning on the machine. The utility screen will automatically appear. The machine gives you a full range of utility stitching options, from smocking to buttonholes to quilting stitches. To move through all the stitches, press the forward arrow icon in the operation panel. A block of stitches is shown in each screen. To select a stitch, press its icon, for example, a straight stitch. Once you select a stitch, all of the information for that stitch is shown on the LCD screen, including the appropriate presser foot to use, the stitch width, the stitch length, the current needle position, the status of the automatic reinforcement stitch function, and the status of the automatic thread cutting function. Remember, you can use your finger or the touch pen to select the desired stitch. Once you've selected your stitch, position your fabric under the presser foot and lower the foot. Press the Start-Stop button or the foot control and begin to sew.
Hey, here's a tip. To use the Start-Stop button, you'll need to make sure that the foot controller isn't plugged in. If it is, the Start-Stop button won't work.
When you use the Start-Stop button, you can quickly adjust your sewing speed by sliding the speed control to the left or right. You can also press and hold the Start-Stop button to sew continuously at a slow speed. When you reach the end of a seam, you'll want to press the reverse button to sew some reinforcement stitches. And when the seam is complete, simply press the thread cutting button to snip the threads. With your new Brother machine, you can sew any one of 10 common buttonhole styles. To begin, select the buttonhole style you'd like to sew. Next, attach buttonhole foot A to the machine. Mark the position and length of your buttonhole on your fabric. Pull out the buttonhole plate on the presser foot and insert the button. Gently push the front of the buttonhole foot toward the back of the machine. Place your fabric on the machine, then lower the presser foot so the mark on your fabric aligns with the marks on the buttonhole foot. Lower the buttonhole lever, lightly hold the end of the upper thread, and begin to sew. The machine will stop automatically when your buttonhole is complete. Once you've finished your buttonhole, remove your fabric from the machine and open the buttonhole. The easiest way to do this is with the seam ripper that's included in your machine's accessory compartment. Just open the hole and you're done. Not only can you choose from a wide variety of stitches with your new machine, you can also select the stitch width, length, and tension you want, and edit other attributes on many of the stitches. For stitch width or length, just choose the appropriate icon from the bottom of the screen, and press the plus or minus sign. If you choose a stitch that cannot be adjusted, the area will be grayed out. A highlighted setting indicates the default setting for that particular stitch. To reset all the settings to their defaults, press the Reset key. To adjust the thread tension, turn the dial on the top of the machine. 4 is the standard tension. The lower the number, the looser the tension. The higher the number, the tighter the tension. For certain stitches, mirror image and twin needle sewing are also available. If a mirror image is available for a stitch, the mirror image icon will appear on the screen with the stitch. The horizontal mirror image key flips the stitch from left to right. Once you've customized a stitch pattern, you'll want to save it. Utility stitches can be saved in the machine's memory. To customize and store a utility stitch in your machine's memory, first select a stitch and change the settings to the way you want them. Then press the memory icon on the LCD screen to save the changes. Press OK. It's that quick and easy, and each time you retrieve the stitch, your custom settings will also be retrieved. To reset the settings to their default, simply select the stitch icon, press Reset, and then Memory and OK. When the same stitch pattern is selected even after the machine is turned off, the saved settings will be retained. Before you begin embroidering, you'll want to make sure that you have the right materials for beautiful results. Let's take a look at what you should have. First, the needle. You should use a new 7511 needle. You'll also want to use thread made specifically for embroidery. The two most popular types are polyester and rayon. Make sure you also use embroidery bobbin thread in the bobbin. For successful embroidering on most fabrics, you should use a stabilizer behind your fabric. Stabilizers add extra stability to your design and come in a wide variety of weights and textures. Be sure to match your fabric with the correct stabilizer. Once you have the correct needle, thread, and stabilizer for your project, you're ready to set up your machine for embroidering, starting with the attachment of the embroidery foot. Begin by pressing the needle position button to raise the needle to its highest position. Next, turn the machine off for safety while you attach the embroidery foot and the embroidery unit. To attach the foot, first raise the presser foot lever. Press the black button on the back of the presser foot holder to detach the current presser foot. Loosen the presser foot holder screw with the screwdriver and remove the holder. The embroidery foot is labeled with the letter Q. Hold the foot in your right hand. While you press the lever with your finger, fit the embroidery foot bar over the needle clamp screw to attach the foot to the presser foot bar. Use the screwdriver to tighten the screw securely. Once your embroidery foot is attached, you can attach the embroidery unit. Make sure your machine is still turned off. Then pull the flatbed attachment off to the left.
This is important. Be sure not to touch the connector in the embroidery unit connection slot and not to lift the embroidery unit by the carriage.
Once the flatbed attachment is off, carefully slide the embroidery unit onto the sewing machine arm and push it in until it clicks into place. Now turn on the machine. A confirmation message will appear on the LCD screen that states the carriage of the embroidery unit will move. Press OK. The carriage will move into its initial position, and the screen for selecting embroidery patterns will be displayed on the LCD. Before starting to embroider, make sure all objects are out of the way of the carriage movement. Correctly hooping your fabric is critical for embroidering success. Be sure to select a stabilizer that's compatible with your fabric and cut it to fit the fabric and the embroidery hoop.
This is important. When hooping your fabric, be sure to work on a solid, flat surface for best results.
Place the outer frame on your surface and place your stabilizer and fabric right side up on top. Align the inner frame with the outer frame and press down on it, gently pulling the outer edges of the fabric. Once the fabric is secure in the frame, check to be sure that there are no wrinkles in it. Next, tighten the screw on the frame. Continue to stretch the fabric so it becomes drum tight within the frame. Once your fabric and stabilizer are secure in the embroidery hoop, the next step is to attach the hoop to the embroidery unit. Start by raising the presser foot lever. Slide your hooped fabric under the presser foot. If needed, the foot can be raised slightly higher to slide the hoop under the foot. From the top, firmly insert the embroidery hoop guide into the embroidery carriage frame holder. Line up the embroidery hoop guide tabs with the embroidery carriage frame holder slots and push down until the hoop clicks into place. Finally, double-check to make sure that both pins are securely snapped into place. To select an embroidery design, first be sure that your machine is turned on and your embroidery unit is attached. The LCD screen will display all the embroidery options that come with your machine. To choose a pattern, first select one of the 6 icons on the initial embroidery screen. You can choose from your machine's built-in embroidery patterns, built-in alphabet patterns, built-in frame patterns, patterns from external embroidery cards, and patterns you've added to machine memory. The final icon on this screen moves the embroidery unit into its storage position. Let's look at selecting a built-in embroidery pattern. Press the icon and use the arrow keys on the operation panel to move through the patterns. To move forward or back by 10 patterns, press the corresponding icon in the upper corner of the LCD screen. When you see the pattern you want, press its icon. Notice that the pattern is separated into each color block for easy color selection. To sew your design, simply thread the machine with each suggested color and stitch out the design. It's that simple. To return to the main screen, press the return arrow key. Selecting a frame pattern uses a similar process. Press the frame pattern icon and use the arrow keys to move through the frame shapes. When you see the frame you want, press its icon. Next, you'll need to select the stitch pattern for the frame. Simply press the arrow keys to scroll through the available stitch patterns and choose your pattern. Be sure your machine is threaded, then sew the pattern out. Using an embroidery card increases your design options for even more creative embroidery. To access designs on an optional embroidery card, make sure your machine is turned off. Then insert the card into the slot at the side of the machine.
This is important. Be sure the machine is turned off before inserting or removing an embroidery card.
Once the card is inserted, turn the machine back on. On the LCD screen, press the card icon, and you'll see a display of the available designs. Simply press the icon of the design you want to select it. To remove the card, first turn off the machine. Then remove the card from the slot. For even greater design flexibility, you can edit embroidery designs in your machine. Begin by selecting the design you want to edit. Notice the 3 icons on the right of the LCD screen. The first allows you to check the colors of your design. Use the 2 black arrow keys to move through the design's color blocks. When you're finished, press the back key on the operation panel to return to the initial screen. To change the thread density or turn thread trimming on or off, press the second icon. Thread trimming is on when its icon is highlighted. Please note that thread density is used primarily with the character lettering option. Once again, press back to return to the initial screen. The third icon provides 3 options. You can check the color once again, move through your design by color, or make additional edits to the layout of your design. We've already explored the check color function, so let's move on to the second icon. You can move through your design either by color block or stitch by stitch, by using the plus and minus icons to move forward or backward. The thread spool icon lets you move through the design color block by color block, while the needle icon lets you move through stitch by stitch. When you're done with this option, simply press the back key to return to the previous screen. The final icon takes you to the layout screen, where you can adjust the layout of your design within the embroidery frame. We'll cover the details in the next section. To make changes to your design's layout, select the third icon to the right of the LCD screen and select the third option. Your design will appear in the box on the upper left. You'll also see the following functions: switching measurements between centimeters and inches, the hoop size, adjusting the size of your design, adjusting the layout, rotating your design, and making a horizontal image of your design. The arrows in the center allow you to move your design within the embroidery area. While the trial key lets you preview how your design will sew out. You can also change the starting point of your design. These two icons are the starting point from the design. Adjust the centering of your design within the embroidery area, and see the actual size of your design. Let's look at each in turn. First, adjusting size of your design. This option is available for some patterns. Simply press the size icon, then choose one of three options. You can increase the size of your design, decrease its size, or return it to its original size after you've made changes. Any changes you make will appear in the window where your design is displayed. To return to the main layout screen, press the Layout key. To rotate your design, press the Rotation icon. You can rotate to the left or to the right in 90-degree, 10-degree, even 1-degree increments. To reset your design to its original position, press the Reset key. When you've finished making changes, press the back key on the operation panel. Some designs can also be flipped horizontally to make a mirror image. Simply press the mirror image icon. You'll see the design change in the LCD window. To return the image to its original orientation, press the mirror image icon again. To change the position of your design within the embroidery area, use the 4 directional arrow keys in the center of the LCD screen. Notice that the values at the bottom of the screen change as you adjust the position of your design. To check your design, press the Trial key. Doing so will move the embroidery frame so you can see where your design lies within the hoop area. Finally, the Starting Point key lets you change the point where stitching begins. The first key moves the starting point to the center of your design, while the second key moves it to the lower left.
Hey, here's a warning. Never lower the needle when the embroidery frame is moving. So before you use the trial key or the starting point stitching key, make sure your needle is in its highest position.
When you've finished adjusting your design's layout, press the back key on the operation panel to return to the sewing screen, where you can sew out your design. To exit out of your design completely, press the back key. Press OK to exit the pattern, and press the back key again until the initial screen reappears. Your new Brother machine comes with 5 built-in alphabet styles for great lettering options. To access them, press the second icon in the LCD screen. Choose one of the alphabet styles by pressing its icon. You can make changes to your letters by using the editing functions on the right side, by choosing the upper or lower case options at the bottom, or by choosing the letter size options, small, medium, or large, at the bottom. To select a letter, use the arrow keys on the operation panel to move through the letters, and then press the letter. Continue using the arrow keys and selecting letters until your lettering sequence is complete. Lettering sequences are often too big for the display screen. If yours is, simply use the check key to see the entire design. To delete a letter, press the Delete key. The last letter you selected will be deleted. If you continue pressing the key, your letters will be deleted one at a time, in the reverse order from which you entered them. To keep your lettering neat with a minimum of fuss, you may want to turn on thread trimming to automatically trim the thread. When you press the icon, it will highlight, meaning the function is on. You can also change the thread density of lettering. Simply press the thread density icon. You can increase density to 120% of the default, or decrease it to 80%. When you're done, press the back key on the operation panel to return to the previous screen. The Adjustments icon gives you even more editing functions. First, the multicolor icon. When this icon is highlighted, your machine will stop after each letter so you can change the thread, allowing you to create a rainbow of hues for your design. Next, the check icon. You can check the attributes of each individual letter in your design by using this key. The third icon lets you move forward or backward through your design. While the last icon is the Layout icon. For information on layout editing options, see the section of this CD entitled Adjusting the Design Layout. Press the back key to return to the sewing screen. When you customize an embroidery pattern or lettering, you can save it to your machine's memory for use again later. To save a customized design, press the pocket icon on the operation panel. Your machine will indicate that it's saving the design, which will remain in memory until you delete it. To retrieve a pattern that you previously saved to memory, first go to the main embroidery screen. Press the pocket icon with the arrow pointing out. All the designs that have been saved in machine memory appear. You can use the arrow keys on the operation panel to move through the designs. To retrieve a design, press its icon. Then press Retrieve. Once the design appears on the screen, you can sew it out or make additional edits to it. When you're finished embroidering, it's a good idea to remove the embroidery unit from your machine. To remove the unit, first raise the presser foot lever. Next, remove the embroidery hoop from the carriage. Press the release lever on the carriage arm toward the left. Lift the hoop up off the carriage arm, and pull it up and off the machine, carefully maneuvering it under the needle and embroidery foot. Next, press the embroidery unit icon on the LCD screen to move the unit into the storage and removal position. Before removing the unit, be sure to turn off your machine. Press the release lever under the end of the unit and carefully slide the embroidery unit off to the left. While we've tried to provide an overview of the major features and functionality of your machine, there's much more to explore. Your manual can provide additional detailed instructions and some great sewing tips and hints, so be sure to look through it. By now, we're sure you're eager to put your new machine through its paces. So put your creativity in gear, flip the switch, and happy sewing! Touchscreens can get rather dirty, especially if you're using your finger rather than the pen. Fortunately, it takes little effort to keep the screen clean. Just wipe it gently with a soft, dry cloth. Don't use strong solvents or detergents, though, since they can damage the screen. To clean the surface of your machine, dampen a cloth with a mild, neutral detergent. Firmly wring out the cloth, then wipe the surface. Finally, rinse the detergent out of the cloth, wring it out again, and wipe the machine again to remove any detergent residue.
This is important. Don't use detergent on the LCD screen. Keep any detergent you use to clean the rest of the machine away from the display screen.
If dust or dirt collects in what is called the race area, your machine won't run well, and the bobbin thread sensor may not function properly. To keep the race area clean, you should try to perform the following steps regularly. First, press the needle position button to raise the needle to its highest position. For safety, be sure to turn off your machine before you remove the needle and the presser foot holder. Next, remove the flatbed attachment. Grasp both sides of the needle plate cover and slide it toward you. Grasp the bobbin case and pull it out. Your machine comes with a cleaning brush, which you can use to remove any lint or dust from the race and its surrounding area. You can also use a vacuum cleaner. Dust and lint can easily collect around the notch in the tension spring on the bobbin case, which can result in an incorrect thread tension. To clean the bobbin case, use the cleaning brush included with your machine. Be sure to remove any lint from both the bobbin case and the tension spring. When you're done cleaning the bobbin case and race area, insert the bobbin case back into the race area, aligning the projection on the bobbin case with the tension spring. Insert the tabs on the needle plate cover into the needle plate, and then slide the cover back into place. Under certain lighting conditions, your LCD screen may be difficult to read. If so, you can do the following to increase its visibility. First, turn off your machine. Then press any of the operation keys except the setting key and turn the machine back on. Press the plus or minus symbols to adjust the brightness of the screen. Turn the machine off and then on again. Your screen brightness should be set to the adjustments you made. If your machine allows you to retrieve embroidery patterns from a computer, it will have a USB port for computer connectivity. A USB cable also will be included with your machine's accessories. To transfer an embroidery design from computer to machine, plug one end of the USB cable into the port on your machine, and the other end into the port on your computer. You can plug the cable into the USB port connectors when the computer and machine are either on or off, but it's best to plug it in when both are on. If you plug in the cable when both units are on, the removable disk drive dialog box will appear on your computer screen automatically. If you plug it in when both units are off, you'll need to access the removable disk drive by clicking Start, then My Computer on your computer. The term removable disk drive refers to the temporary storage drive on your machine. To copy a pattern to it from your computer, find the drive and directory on your computer where your design files are stored. Select your design, and use your computer's copy function to copy the design to your machine.
Now be careful. Be sure to copy only the design, not the entire folder. If you transfer the whole folder, you won't be able to retrieve any of the designs it contains.
Your new machine accepts files that are in a .pes or .dst format, so make sure your design is in one of these two file formats. You'll also want to make sure that if you created your design with an embroidery software program, you copy it to your machine along with the appropriate embroidery frame size. Once you've copied a pattern to the removable disk drive, you can retrieve it by following these steps. First, press the computer icon on your machine's LCD screen. You'll see a display of all the designs you've copied. You can use the previous page and the next page keys to scroll through all the designs. Select the pattern you want to retrieve, and press the pocket icon with the arrow. The embroidery screen will appear showing the design you've chosen. You can now edit it or sew it out.
This is important.
At Brother, we believe in continuous improvement. And while your new sewing machine uses the latest, most innovative technology on the market, we know that tomorrow's technology is always just over the horizon. To help you stay on the cutting edge, we provide any updates we make to our products on our website, www.brother.com. When a software update is available, you can easily download it onto your computer, following your manual and the website instructions.